The Jungle Cruise opened with Disneyland in 1955 as the heart of Adventureland, an exotic setting dedicated specifically to adventure, to romance, to mystery. The Jungle Cruise was Adventureland's champion, a thoroughly awesome experience and the highlight for many to a day at Disneyland. The Jungle Cruise took the excitement of a months-long river expedition and condensed it down to a 7-minute highlight reel. After several years of similar cruises, things got a little stale, and Walt Disney recognized this. So rather than just cutting his losses, shrugging his shoulders and saying, oh well, most people are still showing up to ride it, so it's probably fine, he said, no, let's improve it, let's enhance it, plus it, let's give our guests reasons to come back. He employed the efforts of Imagineer Mark Davis to change the entire approach of the attraction. Over the course of 20 years, they were constantly tweaking and adapting the ride, adding entire new scenes and vistas. Mark Davis created several gags and animatronic vignettes. He scripted a unique experience filled with puns and humor that would offer freedom and individuality to every single skipper who would ever captain a boat. It were these changes, these additions, that made Jungle Cruise one of the best attractions in the park. It was a fusion of adventure, of comedy, of animation, and of live theater that ensured that no ride would ever be the same. It ensured that Jungle Cruise would always be changing. As Disney parks would continue to debut around the world in Florida and Tokyo and Hong Kong, each of them would come with their very own unique Jungle Cruise experience. And now, for nearly 70 years, guests from all around the world have taken unique and humorous excursions down these jungle rivers that have proved heartwarming memories for young and old alike. And apparently, all of that is going up the river now. But is it really? Disney parks recently announced some pretty interesting changes or enhancements to their beloved icon of an attraction, the Jungle Cruise. While details are fairly sparse and mostly teasing in nature at the moment, we can get a general idea of what we can expect. Former Jungle Cruise skipper and current Walt Disney Imagineering show writer Kevin Lively announced that for the first time ever, a genuine story is about to unfold on the cruise. But not only that, now the legendary role of the skipper is going to take on new life via an additional audio animatronic representation within the ride. Some elements that have been teased include a redressing of the Trap Safari scene and a brand new sequence featuring a group of chimpanzees who have seemingly overtaken the boat of a previous tour. Boats that hardcore Jungle Cruise fans shouldn't have trouble recalling. I highly doubt that Disney has shown all of their cards with this announcement here, and I expect little touches, refurbishments, and surprises throughout the whole cruise. This could be in the way of new set pieces and foliage, some added projection elements, maybe even more animals and animatronics than we can imagine here. Who knows? They didn't announce a timeline of when we can expect these changes to carry out, but with the film adaptation finally being released this summer, I can't imagine Disney wanting to have that down during its release. So it's either happening very, very soon or much later. What we know for sure, though, is that when it does happen, the Jungle Cruise will never be what it was again. While most of the reactions regarding the change have no doubt been positive and enthusiastic, I have seen quite a bit of groaning regarding these new enhancements. I had mixed feelings when I first read the headlines, and I'll admit my gut reactions were more towards the negative. Jungle Cruise is great, it's perfect already. There's no need to change what it is. We haven't even seen the movie yet. This is my ride. I have to defend it. This is not what Walt would have wanted. You know, I think it's time to retire the phrase, this is not what Walt would have wanted, because that translates mostly into, this is not what I want right now. If we look at Walt's own words, especially with regards to the Jungle Cruise, we can see that Disneyland and these river adventures are never supposed to stay the same. Walt said, Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination left in the world. Jungle Cruise, when it started, was a humorless and stoic adventure. I'm sure it was cool and exciting as it was, but it was different, and knowing what we have today, it's hardly comparable. We don't have time to list all the changes, but can you imagine a Jungle Cruise without the gorillas in the camp, or the African felt sequence, or the Trap Safari, or the jokes? All of these elements were added in brief installments here and there over a span of several decades because there was imagination left in the world. Are we really going to act like every single one of these changes hasn't more or less improved our overall experience? There has been some respectable outcry regarding the cultural sensitivity that a few scenes herein greatly lack, and likely that is what's prompting these latest enhancements, but I applaud Disney for figuring out a way to address these issues creatively with a future audience in mind. Disney could easily remove these sequences overnight and just leave these areas blank, and maybe they should. They only take up a handful of seconds, and with talented and creative skippers at the helm, I'd venture many of us wouldn't even notice. But rather than that easy solution, Disney suggests, how can we enhance the experience? How can we future-proof the experience? How can we make it more awesome for everybody? Another one of my biggest takeaways from this announcement is that the ride will continue to be its own thing. It will have little to no representation from the movie adaptation that will hopefully still arrive this summer. Those of you may remember my perceived issues with what I think the movie will be, which could still be wrong, but this announcement confirms that it doesn't matter. These enhancements are not going to expand the movie universe into the ride. It's going to expand the story of the ride and build upon the lore we can only find on the ride. The skippers are more than half of what makes the Jungle Cruise fun. So much rides on each of their shoulders when we step aboard, and most of them knock it out of the park, bringing a different approach to the same cruise, making it something special every time. This aspect, we are assured, is not going away. In fact, it may even be perfected. With the addition of a dedicated audio animatronic skipper character, the skippers are going to have more opportunity for growth, for adventure. We're going to get a little more insight as to how they operate, how they are with one another. We get tastes of these relationships on the dock, but now we're going to get it on ride in action. I'm actually really excited that there is going to be a dedicated skipper character, one that we can funnel all our expectations into, a skipper we'll really get to know and love. This skipper is going to be the entertaining dream finder or figment for the Jungle Cruise, and this idea alone is why my expectations for this Jungle Cruise enhancement have become unreasonably high. At the very least though, we can see a lot of hints in this announcement video that prove everything is going to be okay, and that honestly, everything is gonna be better. You'll see Kevin Lively is wearing an SEA pin in the announcement here, and I don't think that's an accident. SEA stands for the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, and it's worthy of its own video sometime in the future. At its basic components, the SEA is a linking story that bonds many of Disney's original attractions around the park, and it's an element that has been mostly lacking in the US parks as of late. In a broader way, the SEA is the expansion of the stories we get to live out when we are in Disney parks. It's the enaction of the exact opposite of IP-based attractions. I'm so looking forward to seeing the expansion of these SEA stories in Jungle Cruise and perhaps even on the ride. But what I'm most contented with is seeing the position of the Imagineers, because they know the appeal of the Jungle Cruise is in the skipper's script, so they're building off it. They know the appeal of Jungle Cruise is seeing wild and humorous scenes play out, so they're building off it. They even know that some of us know the specific history of Jungle Cruise boats that have since been placed out of commission, so they're building off it. It's so weirdly refreshing to me that they would take something like out of commission Jungle Cruise boats that haven't been in operation for over 20 years and be like, let's bring that up again. Let's actually address that. Let's build off the true history of this ride and turn it into a new and original Jungle Cruise story element. Us Disney purists, as we call ourselves, we whine on behalf of Walt, scoffing at the new, very well-made IP-based rides and pining for more original attractions in the parks. While that notion is one completely off base, well, guys, this is it. These Jungle Cruise editions are a gigantic baby step. They're one of the first enhancements not based on an IP in the parks in some time. There should be so much enthusiasm right now. The longer I think about it, this is one of the best announcements we've gotten in the last few years. Short of another Mystic Manor or Enchanted Tiki Room or Space Mountain-esque fully original attraction, this is the next best thing. And if Imagineers prove capable here, and I really believe they will, who knows what could be back on the table for the future. So what about you guys? What do you think? I know I may be in denial, but I think these new enhancements are really gonna float my boat. Because Jungle Cruise, the river thing. Yeah. Until next time, we'll see you in the happy place. Bye.
Over on the left, we have some tall bamboo. Some people say it can grow up to 6 stories tall. I say 7. Yeah, but that's a whole other story.